Ever made a Christmas wreath? Surprisingly, neither have I, but after fumbling your way through it with me today in this video, you'll be able to say you have. Hey there, I am so glad you're here. If you're new, my name is Haley and we do all kinds of DIYs featuring lots of flowers and other natural materials. So if that's something that would interest you, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so that you'll know every time I post a new project. So I just realized a couple days ago that I have never made a Christmas wreath and I want to try it. So last Saturday was Small Business Saturday and I decided to go to a local farm stand and pick up all the things I would need for a wreath. So I'm going to show you guys what I got and then we're going to jump right into this project. I'm really excited. Okay, so at the farm stand I got these winter berries. This, I don't remember what it was called. It's just a really light, delicate looking greenery piece. And then I got some eucalyptus also. And just to make sure I had enough stuff for this project, I went ahead and went outside and grabbed some of these branches off of a tree nearby. And then at Hobby Lobby, I got the base, which was $4.99. This is an 18-inch base. That's partly why I went and got some more branches, just to be sure. And then I got some green wire, but I couldn't find the paddle wire. Usually you get the kind that's just like on a longer piece of cardboard and it's easier to wrap it. Wire cutters, branch cutters, and a door hanger. This was $2.99 at Hobby Lobby. Okay, so I know I said I haven't made a wreath before, but I did some researching and I'm pretty confident this is gonna turn out well. Starting with the winterberry, or the ilex, I believe is another name for them. I was just going down the main branch, cutting off all of the side shoots. So we're going to be left with that one main branch, and we're not going to use that one because it's really thick. So you just want to go down and get off all the side shoots. And I did the same on this one. We're just cutting off those single branches that are coming from the main branch. Eucalyptus, I tried another way where I just went down the main stem, but they were too branchy and they just were pointed in too many directions, so I ended up going back to the other way, which was just cutting off the single branches. That worked a lot better for the wreath. Just gonna gather them up and try to keep them a little bit organized. And then on those bigger branches that I got from outside, I was just looking for ones that looked nice. It was kind of dirty and I ended up having to rinse it off. But it's the same thing here, just cutting them off so that we have single sturdy branches. Okay, so I got all of the smaller branches off of the main branch, and now I made a guide for myself. So this is the length I want them all to be, approximately, for the eucalyptus. So I'm gonna go back through all the eucalyptus and make sure they're at least this size or shorter. So we're gonna do the same thing with our other green, but this one's going to be a little bit longer than the eucalyptus because it's going to be on the back when we stack our pieces, so it'll be more like back here. So I'm just gonna make sure all of the pieces are this long or shorter. Shorter is fine because we'll be able to use those little bits as well. My guide piece for the greenery is about 10 inches and for the eucalyptus it's about 8 inches. Just so you have a reference to know what sizes I'm doing here. Okay, so I have all my materials cut down to about the size I would like them. And I have them all laid out in their own separate piles. So the first thing we're going to do now is attach our wire. We're going to be using the same piece of wire throughout the whole project. It's just going to be one continuous piece. So you really want to make sure that this is tied on really well because we'll also be pulling on it to tighten each bundle. So you just want to make sure you get it really knotted on there nicely and make sure you can pull on it and it stays put. I was just kind of wrapping it around one of the main branches and then wrapping it around itself. Once you get that on there, just go ahead and flip the wreath form back over. Now we can begin a wreath. So a wreath is pretty much just made up of a bunch of really pretty bundles attached to your form. So we're just going to start adding in our greens and layering them and using the different kinds to make it really pretty and nice to look at. So I'm just stacking them. I'm adding in some of the eucalyptus on top. The fir or spruce or whatever that other branch is just gives it a really nice full background. And then I like adding the eucalyptus on top because it just kind of gives it a little pop and you can notice it a lot more than if it was in the back. And then on top of that, I will add one branch of the winter berries just right in the center. And then it would have been a lot easier to do this before I made my bundle, but I'm just going to wrap 3 times around with the wire to start it off. You'll want to get that really tight on there. Once you have that on, we're going to be sitting our bundle right over where we had just wrapped the wire, probably about 1/2 inch. And then you can hold it on with one hand. Once you get it lined up you want this one to be in the middle, in the center of your form. And then once you get it where you want it, you're just going to wrap again 3 times around the bundle. You want to make sure you're wrapping about 1/2 inch above the ends of your stems. Doing it 3 times, making sure it's tight after each wrap. Alright, so that one is on. Now we're going to make another bundle, starting with the fir spruce looking ones again. Adding in some eucalyptus. And then our berries will be last. For this one, we're going to layer it a little bit over the wire that we just wrapped so it covers up our mechanics. And then it's also going to be pointed toward the outside of your wreath. So you can kind of see it's angled more downward and facing outside. That way it'll just give a really full look all the way around and you're covering the wreath form. So once you get that where you want it, you're just going to wrap again 3 times, pulling it tight, making sure it's high enough above your ends that they aren't going to fall out. Alright, and then we're making our next bundle. Got the greens, the eucalyptus. We'll add in some berries. And this one will be pointed toward the inside of the wreath. Once again, we're going to cover up those mechanics a little bit, overlapping it, and then we're just going to point it a little bit toward the inside, just a little bit of a tilt. And then we will wrap it on again. Don't mind me just trying to make it perfect. Alright, here we go. We're going to wind that one on. Once again, 3 times, tightening it after each time we wrap it. You want to get it as tight as you can because as these dry out, they will shrink. And then if you have it like hanging on your door or somewhere that's going to get a breeze, they can fall out as they dry. So you just want to make sure it's really tight on there. And it does get tangled kind of easily on all those branches on the form, so you just have to watch out for that and make sure when you're tightening it that it's not stuck on something. Alright, so you guys can see here, I did the first one in the center, then out, and then in, and we're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. until we get all the way back to the other side. Wrapping it 3 times per bundle, making sure it's tight. So at this point, I'm going to speed up the video because it does take quite a while to make, so keep that in mind. I would set aside an afternoon that you know you won't be rushed or pressed for time. That way you can enjoy building the wreath. Before I started editing this video, I think the raw footage was like 1 hour and 30 minutes or something, so it takes quite a while, but as long as you aren't rushed, you should be able to enjoy it and just have fun being creative with it. So that would be the ideal situation. You just have a free afternoon, you can get a cup of tea or whatever you like to drink and just enjoy it. Okay, my wire kept getting tangled up, so I had to go and unwind all of it and then put it back onto a piece of cardboard. It just was not working at all, so I highly suggest getting a paddle wire to begin with if you can find one. If not, start out by doing this because this will make it so much easier. It was getting tangled every time I was wrapping it around. Now we should be ready to go. I really like doing these types of videos for you guys where I'm doing something new also. So if you're coming here to learn how to do something, you'll get to see all the mistakes I've made and then you won't have to make them for yourself. If that is helpful to you, you should let me know in the comments below, or if you prefer more of like a structured video where I know exactly what I'm doing, I would love to know which type you guys prefer because I really do like doing both, but I think it's fun for you guys to see the struggles that I'm having so that when you have struggles, you know it's not just you and that nobody is perfect for the first time they do something. So I would love to hear which type you guys prefer. So here we go, just making more bundles, and while I'm making those, I just wanted to mention a few things that I learned that I wanted to share with you guys so you can keep it in mind when you're building a wreath. The first thing is it's really easy to get caught up in each individual bundle. So you have to make sure to slow down and stop and take a look at the overall piece before you secure them on. That way you don't end up getting to the end of the wreath and you're like, what happened way over there halfway back? And you can't fix it then. So if you just slow down and take a look at each bundle before you secure it really tightly, you'll be able to move it and put it exactly where you want. Another thing is to make sure you keep the bundles consistent in size. So you could either count the branches, or I just eyeballed it, but if you really want to make sure it's exactly the same, you could count the branches and make sure you get a few that are about the same length. Some of mine were shorter, some were longer, but when you keep the consistent size, you don't have spots that are more full around your wreath. I noticed at the end there were a few spots on mine that were a little bit more on the skimpy side, especially when I was getting closer to the end. I was just getting exhausted of making this wreath, so I was trying to hurry and the lighting kept changing, so I was just like hurrying before it got dark outside. My camera also can only film for like 10 minutes at a time, so this video was very, very time consuming, besides just the making of the wreath. But anyways, if you keep those sizes consistent, it will look way better in the end, and it will just look very cohesive, and it will look the same all the way around. Another thing is when you're laying down the bundles, you want to make sure that you're keeping the overlap consistent. I also noticed that at the beginning, I was barely overlapping them, and then as I got farther into it, I was spreading them out more. So that also contributed to making it look a little bit on the skimpier side towards the end. Another way that you could do this also, if you are having a hard time holding the bundle on while you wrap the wire, is you could go through and make all of your bundles first and then just tie them with some twine. That way all you're doing really is setting the bundles onto the form and wiring them on, but you don't have to hold them together. They're not going to be falling apart. You can make sure that those bundles are really tight. So that would help make it a lot simpler. And then you could also see that your bundles are all about the same, which is also something that could be helpful. Another thing I did for this one that I'm not sure if you guys could really tell or not, but Those branches that I got from outside that I foraged, I was only putting in my bundles that were in the center of the form. So when I did the bundles facing outward or inward, I did not put those on. And I just did that because I didn't have a ton of them, but also I wanted the middle to just really be full and have none of that form showing through. So I thought that would help if I just did it in the center only. And I actually really like how it looked when I did that. So that's just another thing to keep in mind, is if you want one extra piece in the center, there's really no way you can make a wrong wreath. I mean, it's all creativity, just like all the other projects we do. So don't feel bad if it looks different than ones you've seen or someone else's. And I really do apologize for the lighting. I was trying to use all natural light, but the sun, it just kept moving, and like it does, you know, that's not anything unusual, but because of the length of the video, it just kept changing the lighting, and I was trying to make it look the best it could, but it's not very consistent, so I apologize for that. Alright, we're in the final stretch here. It's looking good. Another thing that I did want to mention is that I only used, mainly, I only used 3 different materials for this, so it didn't take like 5 different things. I did go out and forage the 4th material, but you could forage a lot of this stuff, especially if you have property. You could just go out and find some shrubs that look really nice and trees that you have in your backyard. You could simply go buy just berries, or you could add pine cones for decoration instead of the berries. I've even seen the dried orange slices on the wreath instead of berries, or dried flower heads. That would be super pretty too. There's so many different ways to make this to keep it low cost and possibly free if you already have most of these things. And also, if you get a metal wreath form, you can use that every year and just cut off the old wreath when it's done for the season, and then save the form for the next year. I'm not really sure if that would work with this natural one, but maybe I should try that and let you guys know, because that's another way to just save money. Or you can even make your own wreath form, which I've never done, but maybe I should try that too. Obviously, this one is made out of branches, so someone put it together like that. But that could be an interesting project. And also, I ended up having a lot of leftover materials. So the first thing I did was I let my kids make their own mini little wreaths. I got them 2 small wreath forms, and they had a lot of fun doing that. They didn't really wrap anything on, they just kind of stuck it in. But even after that, I still had a lot of extra materials, so really soon you guys can look for a second video that is a follow-up to this, showing you what I did with those leftover materials to kind of add some more Christmas vibes around your house. So that was really fun too, if you have extra materials. We're getting pretty close to the end here, and I'm not gonna lie, the farther you go, it does get a little bit trickier just because you have to watch out when you're wrapping for all of those other branches on there. Your center gets smaller and it gets a little bit heavier, but you guys can do it. Alright, so we're just going to try to finish this off and make it look cohesive, so you shouldn't be able to tell where the end is ideally. We'll see if we can accomplish that. So I'm just going to take some eucalyptus and some of this spruce and kind of just tuck it in right there. Then I'll do it again on the inside. down a little bit lower. Okay, now we're gonna try to make one last bundle. I'm really running out of stuff, so I don't have a lot of big pieces left. And I'm gonna try to stick this one down here and wrap it way down here. I'm gonna try to go under that top layer. So I'm gonna pull them back a little bit and scoot the wire down so that it's not pinning these top first bundle down. And I'm gonna try to add a little bit more stuff right there. Just like that. I'll tie that on the same way, going under the top branches. Okay, so I feel like that looks pretty good, but there's a little bit of a gap here. So I'm just gonna see if I can find anything left to fill it real quick. All right, looks like this is all I've got. So I'm just gonna tuck it in one last time. Here's where you just kind of get to decide if it's full enough at the end and if it looks like it's a seamless transition from the beginning to end. You just really want to make sure you aren't pinning down those top branches and fill it in where you would like to. So once you get it all finished, you'll just flip it over . And find a surprise that your twine was under there that whole time and it got all the way weaved through. Oh my goodness. Okay, then you're just gonna leave a tail about that long. Just a nice long, whoops. Just a nice long tail and then cut it. And you're just gonna weave it in to make sure it's nice and secure. Just keep wrapping it until you get it all the way knotted. Okay, you guys, here it is. I'm super excited about it. I love the way it turned out. It was a little tricky at first. If you guys could tell, I was having struggles with the wire and just kind of finding the rhythm, but I hope this inspired you guys to try wreath making if you haven't yet, or anything new for that matter. Sometimes it's scary to start, but it just takes trial and error to figure it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I will see you guys soon for our next project. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.